morning. I'm Amanda. I'm here this morning to share with you some movements that will increase flexibility at the knee, that will start to open you up into the hip, interior and exterior line of the hip, and we'll also start to work into the fascia of the pelvis. And then from there we'll move on into exploring ways to squat that accommodate people that have knee issues, as well as people that don't. You're going to want some blocks, maybe some blankets, perhaps a cat. I have smaller blocks and larger blocks, and then I have 2 blankets. Your props are really personal expression of your practice. I use both. I use larger blocks. I'm sitting on a larger block, and then sometimes I'll work with smaller blocks. It just depends on my mood. So let's go ahead and get started. No good practice is complete without some pranayama, some breath work. So I'm going to start with just some fundamental breath techniques, and then we'll work up to some less fundamental breath techniques. So from here you want to maybe take your weight into your hands. I'm in an easy seated position. This is comfortable for me. I'm on a block. Can be done on a blanket as well. If you don't want to sit on a block or a blanket, you can do it flat on the floor. However, if you have tight knees or hips, I think you will find most people that come into Siddhasana or easy seated pose are like this at the beginning of practice. And just by bringing a block to underneath your hiney, the knees start to drop. So we'll give that a try. Hands can reach out toward knees as you press down onto the knees. Roll your shoulders forward, and you can actually spread and press out into the knees. And notice if your shoulders are kicking up towards your ears. This is a pretty bad habit that we all have, or a pattern, right? Something we're comfortable with, so we're going to roll the shoulders back. As we move our weight back into the bones we're sitting on, we feel the shoulders stacking toward over the hips, and we want to maintain the natural curvature of the spine, right? So I think sometimes in yoga we get so focused on doing the poses that we forget about just feeling our bodies. Our spine, our low back has an inward curve, right? Our neck has an inward curve. Our shoulders have an outward curve. Our tailbone has an outward curve. We're not trying to undo the curve. Our spines were created this way purposefully. We're just trying to undo the flatness or the overarching or the over-roundedness that occurs with, you know, what we do for a living, who we take care of, and just general like lack of body awareness. Okay, so if you'd like something to focus on for your practice today, I'm a big fan of patterns. So you can start to think about maybe your patterns of physical movement or your patterns of mental and emotional movement as you're working through your practice today. So reaching out, rolling the shoulders back, lengthening the lobes of the lungs so you can breathe deeply. Inhaling through the nose. Slow. Exhale through the mouth as though you were, relieved to be able to relax, maybe for the first time in a while. Most of us stay in the top of the shoulders while we're breathing initially. Bring the breath all the way down to the pit of your belly, base of your tummy. Let's sort of feel expansion there. If you're new to this, you can always bring your hand to the tissue that you're trying to bring awareness to. And then you move into maybe a more subtle breath, a little less physically aggressive, less noisy. So it's an inhale through the nose. Exhale through the nose. If you find this to be challenging, you can count the inhale, so sort of taking a baseline. Right, so inhaling 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000. Okay, got to 4 1,000. Exhaling 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000. And then inhaling And pausing at the top, retaining the breath for a second or two or three or four or five if you can get it. And then again coming back to the baseline exhale, 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, 4 1000. Inhaling, pause. Exhaling through the nose. So, one of my favorite quotes, if you ever have a yoga teacher, we probably quote a lot of things. One of my favorite quotes is, if you don't have 5 minutes to sit with yourself and breathe, then you need to make an hour. And it's very true. One other thing I'd like to remind you of as we move through this practice is that yoga is an act of self-care. First and foremost, yoga is an act of self-care. So, it doesn't matter if you feel like you're not doing the poses to, your highest potential or your greatest expression of the pose. Every day is different for your body. Our bodies weren't designed to last for forever, and as you practice, you'll start to accept that and really respect what your body is capable of at the present moment. And then again, always noticing your patterns. So from here, we'll work into one more breath. We'll do some alternate nostril breathing. So we'll start with the right hand covering. I like doing crisscrossing the fingers and poking my third eye. And you'll cover the left nostril with your ring finger. You can lay your pinky over it, and you'll inhale through the right nostril. Pause, close the right nostril so the breath is stuck inside of you, and then open the left nostril and exhale. Inhale through the left nostril. Close, hold the breath. Exhale through the right nostril. Inhale through the right nostril. Pause. Exhale through left. Inhale through left. Pause. Close left nostril. Exhale through right. Inhale through right. Pause. Exhale through left. And you can do this for 30 rounds or so, 30 breaths or so. From here, you're going to take the left foot. I'm going to start with the left side of my body. I'm right-handed. I tend to always lead with the right, so if you're right-handed, maybe you join me today, start with the left side. If you're left-handed, perhaps start with the right side. Again, that's a pattern. We want to balance the body. We don't always want to be so dominant on one side. So you'll take the bony edge of your left foot out in front of you. I like to put the heel right about in front of the belly button. And you're going to try to lift the heel. Right? If the heel doesn't lift, that's okay. It takes time. But what's happening here is as you push toward the bony edge of the foot and the heel lifts, you're getting a bone rotation at the shin. And then you'll press down into the foot as though you wanted to move the foot down the mat. And you'll start to also feel some activation in the outside of the thigh. You can take your fingers to either edge of the mat so you keep the spine nice and long as you press. And I'm not trying to move my foot out into full extension. I'm really just trying to get a nice good bite on the outside of my leg. From here, I keep the abdomen long. Instead of coming into this pattern, I move into this new space, and I take 3 breaths. Inhale and exhale, And inhaling and exhaling through the nose. And release. And from there, if you want, you can work with a blanket or a block under the heel if you have a hard time getting the heel down. This is also a nice alternative, right? But you're pressing the foot forward, you're squeezing the knee down, and you're lengthening through the pelvis. So you start to get into all this really tight tissue in the outside hip. This is also going to open up the knee for you and build strength in the foot. So let's move to the other side. Same thing, heel about in front of belly button, heel lifted. If it was available to you, I would say press down into the ball of the foot and squeeze the knee open toward the floor. Fingers come to either side of you as long as you keep the abdomen lengthening. If you have a little more flexibility here and you know you can keep the abdomen lengthening, then you can put the fingers in front of you and kind of pull with the fingers as you press out with the foot. So heel lifting, possibly ball of foot moving toward floor, knee squeezing toward floor, and hip lengthening back, right? 3 breaths. And then let that go. Good from there. Bring the legs back in. And if you would like, you can sit on a second block. I'm going to integrate a second block. It's 2 big blocks today. Depending on how long your legs are, how much body you have, you might need a 3rd block. The blocks can also be moved into a wide stack. So, you know, imagine these were 2 blocks here, wide stack. From there, you'll bring your feet to right underneath your hip bones. That's about 2 fists drop down between the ankles, and you're going to try to take your underarms towards your knees, and you're going to drag and try to lift your lowest rib down your thigh here. Shoulders want to crawl up toward you as you keep the shoulders dropped. 3 breaths, so you're lengthening the lumbar spine and the abdominals. Good. From there, you'll take the feet open to about the edges of the mat, ankles right under knees. You're going to turn your toes out in the direction of your knee bones. And we'll start with the left side. So I'm going to bring my right hand to my left low rib. Actually, first let's work the meridian, the diaphragm and the meridian tissue. So you'll bring your fingers to your sternum, and you'll kind of press along the edge from the base of the sternum down the length of the rib, and the tissue should be on the tight side. So this is the diaphragm tissue. Just kind of press, press, press. Still breathing. It should start to kind of lighten up. And then from there, you're going to take the right hand to your lowest rib. Inhale, lengthen through the left side of the body. Bring underarm toward knee. And you want to keep the shoulder down and away from the ear, so you can either pull or push as you lengthen the lower rib down the thigh. And from there, you'll bring your right hand to your thigh, pulling with the left hand, lengthening the low rib. Inhale, twist. Exhale, soften. Yes, I said inhale, twist. Exhale, soften. If you have high blood pressure, exhale, twist. Inhale, soften. Right? If you don't have high blood pressure, you can inhale into the twist. It provides much more information about what's tight in your body. And release. Take a breath. And let's do the right side. Find the low rib, or the sternum, and you just kind of down the line of the sternum. You're being really friendly this morning. Breathing, right? Always breathing. So you kind of just find the bone that is the base of the rib cage, and you follow the rib cage down. You might even start to kind of hook your fingers up under there. That should be pretty sensitive. From there, you'll take the left hand to the low ribs. Inhale, lift up and lengthening. Exhale, hooking underarm over knee or something along those lines. Either pulling down or pushing down as you rotate the or you drag the lower rib up the thigh, and then you take your left hand to the inside of the thigh. And it's like you're trying to turn the thigh out. Inhale, twist. Exhale, soften. Inhale, twist. Exhale, soften. Inhale, twist. Exhale, soften. Good. From there, you move the cat. We'll take the left leg out. Press down into the left heel, microbend the left knee. Right? And you'll start to feel kind of a really nice inner thigh tissue releasing here. If you want a little more, you can externally rotate the bones in the leg, which you did earlier, beginning of our practice. Just start to feel some things working up the outside line of the leg as well. A couple of breaths there. If you want, you can dorsal flex the foot. Maybe one day the pinky toe actually turns all the way down toward the floor. And you'll continue to press down into the heel, turn the toes upward. Take the right hand back to behind you, lengthening over the front of the abdomen, right? So my shoulders are going to stay open. I'm actively pressing down into the heel. My left hand will come to outside of my right knee, might be my thigh. I push my leg into my hand, I push my hand into my leg, and I find an energetic block. So it's not going to swing in or press out. And I inhale, lengthen back as I reach through the leg. I can also kind of lift my left ear away from my shoulder for a really nice neck stretch here. 3 breaths or so. My right arm, this is not a traditional spinal twist, it is a lengthening of the spine, more of a back bend actually. My right arm has a microbend in it. And release. Can help your leg back in there if it's kind of asleep. Right? Sit up tall, take a breath, notice the difference. And then switch sides. So all of the same things apply. If you want to do a little extra work, you can lift the leg and kind of reach it as far open, right? Not in front of you, on the diagonal, out to the side away from you. Press down into the heel, microbend the knee. And if you want, you can externally rotate the leg as you reach out through the leg, right? So you get this nice, deep connective tissue stretch along the inner thigh. If this tissue is really tight, you can go in and kind of squeeze it. I have a rolling pin. Sometimes I'll coconut oil, a rolling pin. If you're new to yoga and you start doing, forearm balancing or anything like this, this tissue that hasn't really been exposed to physical touch tends to bruise. Initially, that's normal. After a second or third time, it should not be nearly as susceptible to bruising. That's from surface area tension in the skin. So from there, we'll lengthen the left hand back, opening the heart, lengthening the abdomen, right? And the right hand will come to outside of the knee or the thigh. Shoulders stay back and open toward the ceiling. We're going to reaching out through that right leg and I'm inhaling, lengthening back. And I can also reach my ear toward my shoulder, open up my throat. So about 3 breaths there, and then you can release. If you have a little more experience, you can start to bring your shoulders to inside of your knees. And you can take let's see, we'll start the left hand in front of the shin, and inhale, open. 3 or 4 breaths here. I'm trying to create a fairly natural line. A lot of people will do something like this. Very unnatural, right? So I want to be long from left hand to right hand with nothing severe looking through the arms, right? So I'm trying to actually extend through the connective tissue. And then if I want a shoulder neck stretch, I can reach that right hand back and drop my ear toward my shoulder. And then I'll switch sides. So actually reaching out through my right hand and can inhale, open through my left hand. And bring my ear to my shoulder and take that neck release. That's pretty spectacular. From there, you move the cat. That's actually her blanket. And we come into the squats. And this is probably the least favorite part of a lot of people's practice, but all I can tell you about squatting is it's worth it. It helps heal a lot of the issues in the lower 3 chakras of the body. It's great for releasing the hips, the pelvis, the digestive system. There's a lot of things associated with opening the lower half of the body that are complicated, but will come along with time. So I'm going to give you a variety of squats. If you're new to squatting, this is fine. You can stay here, bringing the elbows inside of the knees, toes turning out in the direction of the knees, and palms pulling to prayer. I want to get the thumb right to the base of the sternum as you lengthen from lower abdomen. Right? You can hang out here. This is Malasana, 3, 4, 5 breaths. If you have a little more experience, you can kind of take Malasana off. So my butt's still on the blocks. I'm just kind of pressing forward from here. If these, are easy or you want something different, here are the other variations. So there's squatting with the feet underneath the hip bones. We did this on the blocks earlier. You can drop 2 fists down. If your heels don't touch down, it's not something to be concerned about. That takes time. If you want to do work to open the feet and get the heels down, I have a tutorial with Virasana. I did it earlier this week, so you can look at that. That should help open the feet. If you can get the feet down, you can take the underarms toward the knees and pull here. So I'm dragging the shoulders down and moving the low ribs further up the thighs. If that's going well, you can turn the toes out in the direction of the knees and take a traditional Malasana, doing the same thing, pulling the thumbs down toward the sternum. And then there's variations on insect pose, right? Titibasana, firefly, whatever the new cool yoga name is for that pose. I can't keep up with it. But I call it insect because pretty much you look like an insect, right? Firefly, whatever. So it's heels together, toes out, knees out. Maybe one day, heels down. And I'm not trying to go Quasimodo, right? I don't want to have that round spine. I want a nice long, flat spine, nice long abdominal section. And actually squeeze the knees apart. For those of you guys that have a little more experience, you can lift the pelvis, move the pelvis back, move the hands forward, and you'll feel all of that tissue over the hips and the side body that we've started to get into. What can I tell you? Building strength in the knees and squatting is worth it. So try maybe squatting once a week, twice a week. Squat while you're watching TV. Make it functional. Let's finish with the child's pose today. Thank you for joining me and Benny. So you can do knees together, you can do knees apart. There's a lot of variations of child's pose. I like to rest the right hand inside the left hand and just kind of envision letting go, releasing all of my patterns, all of the hang-ups I have with my body. And I also like to encourage you to take a moment to recognize just how lucky you are to be able to move your body, to have the time to do this. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. Bring your hands to outside of your knees, slowly press yourself up. Finish in a seated pose on the block or off the block. Thank you for joining me today. And if you'd like to see anything on this channel, I am really excited about doing this. I'm open to any suggestions, questions that you have, ideas for practice, things to do, strength building, opening, releasing. I'm just getting started. So if you want any more information about me, what I do, my studio where I teach, www.republicyogahouston.com. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a great day.